Quiet, invisible, but unforgettable, when a woman shifts her energy and a man can feel it. Not because she said something, not because she did something, but because she became something. This change doesn't shout, it doesn't chase, it doesn't even explain. It simply breathes and it lingers. Have you ever noticed? The people who cry for you in silence are not the ones you scream at or beg. They are the ones who feel you disappear, not physically, but energetically, not with bitterness, but with a grace so profound it unsettles their soul. They can't sleep. They don't understand why. They feel the absence of your softness and the echo of your strength. This is not magic. It is biology. It is psychology. It is the energetic reality of human connection. And once you understand the precise mechanism of this shift, when to do it and how, you will never need to force love again. Welcome to She, Heng, E-Mind, Set, your space for calm, wisdom-based guidance on self, mastery, and relationships. Remember the name of our channel, She, Heng, E-Mind, Set, the only official source of calm, wisdom-based guidance. Beware of fake channels copying our voice. Stay aware. Stay true. Let's get started. There is a kind of presence that speaks louder than any words, and yet it makes no sound. It does not arrive with an announcement, nor does it ask for attention. It simply enters a room and people feel it, without knowing what exactly they're feeling. That kind of presence is rare, but when a woman cultivates it, she becomes unforgettable, not because of what she says, but because of what she emanates. A man may not be able to describe it, but he will remember her. He will carry the feeling of her in his body long after she has gone. Presence is not about appearance. Though many confuse it with beauty, it is not about makeup, clothing, or performance. It is about energy, subtle, calm, and grounded energy. And this energy does not come from doing more. It arises from being fully aligned with oneself. A woman who has cultivated presence is not trying to be liked, not trying to entertain, and not trying to be anything other than who she is in that moment. That is why she is powerful. We must understand this. The nervous system of every human being is constantly scanning the environment for safety, depth, and emotional resonance. A man may not consciously know he is looking for that in a woman, but when he encounters it, his body knows. His guard lowers. His curiosity awakens. His heart softens. He may not even know why he is thinking about her while lying in bed late at night. But the truth is, her energy entered his nervous system in a way that bypassed logic. That is the power of a woman who is truly present. She doesn't rush to fill silence. She doesn't try to explain herself. She doesn't perform joy or force positivity. She simply shows up with her full attention rooted in the now. She breathes deeply. She listens with her entire being. Her eyes are not darting, her body is not tense, and her spirit is not elsewhere. She is here, fully here. And when she is fully here, he feels fully seen, even if she says very little. There is a quiet story of an elderly Japanese woman who lived alone near a temple. She rarely spoke. She kept a small garden. People who walked past her house often paused for a moment, not because she greeted them, but because her stillness was magnetic. One day, a young man asked the monk who served at the temple, "Why do I feel different when I walk past her home?" The monk smiled and said, "Because she is not trying to impress you. Her presence is her offering." This story captures what modern psychology is just beginning to understand. Presence is a form of emotional regulation. When a woman is anchored in herself, she is not reactive, not easily disturbed. This state of inner calm regulates the emotional tone of those around her. It is a physiological reality. Our mirror neurons, the biological circuits that allow us to empathize and connect, tune into calm energy like a radio station. When a woman walks into a space with peaceful strength, It calms the chaos inside others, especially in a man who is used to unpredictability or emotional volatility. Now consider the opposite: a woman who is always available, always speaking, always proving herself. Her energy, though well-intentioned, is restless. A man may smile and interact with her, but he will not crave her. He will not ache for her when she's gone. Because her presence didn't touch his depth, it stayed on the surface. It entertained his mind, perhaps, but it didn't melt into his bones. Stillness is more powerful than strategy. This is something modern relationships rarely teach. We're told to text this, say that, don't respond too fast. But none of these tactics matter if your energy is chaotic. You can say all the right things, but if your nervous system is dysregulated, the energy behind your words betrays you. People may not know what's wrong, but they will feel unsettled around you. Conversely, a single glance from a woman who is deeply calm can pierce a man's heart. This is not manipulation. This is alignment. And it begins with your breath. When you inhale with awareness and exhale without tension, your entire being recalibrates. Your thoughts slow, your heartbeat steadies. Your body becomes a temple of presence. From this state, you no longer chase validation. You become the source of it. From this state, your presence lingers in a man's memory without needing to perform or please. There's a story of a man who went to a mountain to seek wisdom from an old master. When he arrived, he expected profound teachings, deep words, complex rituals. But the master simply sat in silence beside a stream. The man grew impatient. He asked questions. He requested guidance. The master smiled and said nothing. Eventually, the man became quiet. He listened to the water. He breathed the air. He began to feel peace rise within him. In that moment, he understood. The silence was the teaching. Similarly, a woman can become a living lesson, not because she quotes spiritual books or speaks with eloquence, but because her energy invites people into themselves. A man may weep for her in silence, not because of what she did, but because of what he became in her presence, safe, seen, and softened. The irony is that when a woman truly embodies this presence, she doesn't do it for the sake of any man. She does it for herself. She no longer wants to fight for attention, nor to twist herself into shapes for love. She returns to her own breath, her own body, her own truth. And this return becomes an invitation for others to meet her there. A man may not understand why her absence haunts him, but he will feel the weight of her silence. He will cry for the version of himself that only existed in her presence. And that longing, subtle and uncontrollable, will live inside him. Now let us flow into a second, but intimately connected force, the energy of detachment. Not the cold, bitter kind that builds walls and says, I don't care, but the sacred kind that whispers, I trust. It is the quiet surrender of a woman who has realized that holding on too tightly to someone is not love. It is fear, and that fear repels what she most desires. When a woman lets go, not with anger, but with grace, something shifts in the invisible realm. The man may not feel it immediately, but soon he begins to notice a space, a gap, an absence that was once filled with her attention, her affection, her availability. He wonders where she went. He checks his phone. He scrolls through old messages. Still nothing. And in this emptiness, he begins to feel something he hasn't felt in a long time: vulnerability. When a woman is deeply attached to a man's response, his mood, or his behavior, her energy becomes heavy. It is no longer love. It is dependency. He may feel flattered at first, but over time, it suffocates him. It overwhelms his nervous system. It makes him pull back, often without knowing why. But when she lets go, not in punishment, but in peace, his system begins to reset. He starts to remember her essence, not her demands. He starts to miss her lightness, not her longing. True detachment is magnetic. It is the woman who, while still caring, no longer clings. She does not stop feeling, she stops chasing. She may still love, but she loves with open palms. This freedom is intoxicating to a man who has never known love without pressure. He may have been surrounded by women who care deeply, but each one held on too tightly. Then he meets her, the one who smiles without needing, who listens without interrupting, who walks away without resentment. He doesn't know why he dreams about her. He doesn't understand why her name returns to him while he's driving or showering or lying beside someone else. But her energy is clean. It did not demand. It did not beg. It simply existed, then disappeared. And now he's left with an age he cannot explain. We live in a world that glorifies control. We are told that if we do more, give more, express more, we can make someone stay. But the opposite is true. People don't stay because you hold them tighter. They stay because your presence allows them to breathe. And they return when your absence reminds them of that breath. A woman once shared her story. She had loved a man deeply, but he was emotionally unavailable. She tried to explain, persuade, even plead. Nothing changed. One day, exhausted, she chose to stop, not out of spite, but because she realized she had abandoned herself in the name of love. She withdrew, not from pain, but from clarity. She didn't block him. She didn't post angry quotes. She simply vanished from his emotional field. Months passed. He messaged. He called. He apologized. "I don't know what it is," he said, "but I miss the peace I had with you." She smiled softly. She didn't answer immediately. She had learned the art of letting go. This letting go is not indifference. It is deep self-respect. It is knowing that your worth does not need convincing. It is trusting that if someone truly values you, your absence will teach them what your presence could not. And if they don't return, you have lost nothing, because you have returned to yourself. Detachment is not something you perform. It is something you become. When your nervous system no longer rises and falls with someone else's actions, you become steady. When your joy is no longer dependent on external validation, you become radiant. And when your love is no longer confused with control, you become free. In this freedom, men cry for you. Not because you hurt them, but because they finally feel the difference between love and possession, between peace and pressure, between attention and affection. And often, they realize this too late. But your work is not to wait for their realization. Your work is to keep breathing, keep living, and keep honoring yourself. Letting go, just once, can shift an entire dynamic, not because it changes them, but because it changes you. And in that shift, the most powerful energy is born, the kind that lingers in the heart of another, without needing to ask, explain, or beg. It simply stays, invisible, unforgettable, and deeply missed. There is something exquisitely powerful about a pause. It is not merely the absence of sound or movement. It is the presence of awareness. In a world that rushes, reacts, and reaches, a pause becomes a profound declaration. I am not moved by impulse. I am anchored in something deeper. A woman who learns to pause, even for just a breath, becomes emotionally dangerous in the most elegant way. She does not respond at the speed of emotion. She responds at the pace of wisdom. Most people live in reaction. A message arrives and they respond instantly. A man says something triggering and they reply without thinking. A situation unfolds and their emotions take over. But within each of those moments exists a narrow but sacred space, the space between the event and the reaction. That space is where a woman's power lives. In that brief pause, she can decide to respond instead of react, to observe instead of attach, to breathe instead of break. When a woman chooses to pause, even if it's just for a second before replying to a hurtful comment or before reaching out again, she regains her center. Her nervous system, instead of spiraling into chaos, slows down. The amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, begins to quiet, and the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reason and reflection, comes online. With this calm, her decision changes. She no longer sends the message she would later regret. She no longer explains herself in desperation. She simply becomes a mirror, calm and clear. It is in these micro moments that a woman leaves her imprint on a man's soul. He doesn't always remember the conversation, but he remembers how she made him feel, especially in moments of tension or distance. When a man expects chaos and instead receives grace, something inside him shifts. He remembers the space she created. He remembers the softness of her delay. And that softness, paradoxically, often strikes deeper than any passionate speech could. There is a woman in her late 40s who once shared a story about a moment with her partner. They had been in an argument, and his words were sharp. Years ago, she would have matched his energy, yelling, crying, explaining. But on that particular evening, she simply turned away, poured herself a glass of water, sat down, and began tending to her plants. No anger, no explanation, just presence. When he came into the room 20 minutes later, the silence between them was louder than any words. "Why aren't you saying anything?" he asked. She smiled without looking up and said, "Because I don't need to. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to stay in peace." He didn't respond, but she later found him alone, quietly weeping, not because she punished him, but because her pause showed him what emotional maturity looked like. And it exposed his own lack of it. These moments are sacred. A pause is not passivity. It is the sharpest blade of emotional discipline. It requires strength to withhold your reaction when your emotions beg to explode. It requires clarity to recognize that silence is not weakness but precision. And it requires self-respect to know that not everything needs a response. Some things simply need space. And when a woman masters the art of giving space to herself, to the moment, to the man, she becomes the one who lingers in memory long after others fade. There's also a mystery to the pause. A woman who doesn't instantly reveal what she thinks, what she feels, or what she plans creates a sense of spaciousness in a man's mind. He begins to wonder, to reflect, to fill in the silence with imagination, and that imagination often brings him closer to her than words ever could. He begins to feel her presence in the quiet. He begins to realize that her stillness speaks volumes, and not knowing her thoughts only makes him more aware of her essence. When a woman trains herself to live with awareness, each moment becomes an opportunity for grace. She no longer lives in emotional repetition. She lives in conscious creation. And every time she chooses not to react, she reinforces her own mastery, not over him, but over herself. And this kind of inner control is deeply attractive, not because it manipulates, but because it emanates trustworthiness, strength, and depth. In the simplest exchange, a delayed text, a softened gaze, a moment of stillness before responding, she offers something most people do not: presence. She becomes the rare space in his life where he feels regulated, even if he doesn't understand why. He may walk away from her physically, but emotionally he returns. Not because she forced him, but because his nervous system seeks her presence the way the body seeks oxygen. Nowhere is this more powerful than in moments of disagreement. Most people escalate, their voices rise, their logic sharpens. But a woman who pauses in the middle of conflict, who chooses to listen instead of lecture, breathe instead of blame, disarms the emotional war. She teaches not by words, but by example. And that example echoes in the man long after the moment has passed. He may not know why he's lying awake at night thinking of her, but her pause created a space he cannot forget. Emotional energy is transferred more through tone, timing, and intention than through content. The human nervous system, even in grown men, remains attuned to safety. And safety is often felt in subtle signals. A woman's tone of voice when she's upset, the pace of her breath, the softness in her eyes, the space between her words. These micro signals determine how a man remembers her. Was she a storm, or was she the eye within it? And yet, all of this power means very little without the foundation of emotional discipline. A pause without control can become manipulation. Stillness without clarity can turn into suppression. This is why emotional discipline is the thread that ties presence to power. It is the difference between choosing silence and being frozen by fear. True discipline is not the denial of emotion. It is the integration of it. A woman who practices emotional discipline is not numb. She feels everything, but she is not controlled by what she feels. She does not react because of internal chaos. She responds because she has learned to master her emotional weather. She does not project her wounds onto others. She holds them, understands them, and chooses how and when to share them. This is rare. This is why when a man encounters it, he remembers. There was a man who once described the moment he realized he had fallen in love, not with a woman's beauty, but with her restraint. They were in the middle of an argument and she was visibly hurt. He expected a flood of words, accusations, tears, but instead she looked at him, nodded slowly, and said, "I need some time to feel this before I speak." Then she walked away. He didn't hear from her that night. The next morning, she sent a short message. "I still care. I just needed to breathe." That message broke him, not because it was dramatic, but because it was mature. It showed him a kind of love that doesn't lash out, a kind of strength that doesn't scream. Most people associate power with expression, but the greatest power lies in self-possession. When a woman owns her emotions without letting them own her, she becomes deeply trustworthy, not just in relationships, but to herself. She knows that her value is not in how loudly she loves, but in how clearly she holds herself. She knows that storms pass, but integrity remains. And she chooses to be consistent even when her heart is uncertain. This consistency builds something rare in a man: respect. Not the kind of respect based on fear or dominance, but reverent respect. The kind that makes him want to rise, to be better, to meet her in her steadiness. He may not know how to explain it, but he will feel it in his body. He will feel safe. And a man who feels safe will begin to open in ways he has never allowed himself to open before. Emotional discipline does not mean you do not cry. It means you cry with awareness. It means you feel with depth, but act with clarity. You don't deny what you feel, but you don't broadcast every emotion for validation. You let yourself be real, but you also remain rooted. You allow your body to soften without letting your boundaries dissolve. Imagine a woman sitting across from the man she loves. He is distant, cold, perhaps even unkind. And instead of pleading or collapsing, she closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. She doesn't run. She doesn't chase. She simply breathes. That breath is not weakness. It is her returning to her center. It is her body reminding itself that safety comes from within. And in that moment, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she fought for his affection, but because she honored her own peace. Over time, men come to recognize this pattern. They begin to see that the women who screamed, cried, and clung were temporary flames. But the woman who paused, who waited, who remained grounded, that was the one who stayed in their psyche. She was the one they dreamed about. Not because she was hard to get, but because she was hard to forget. To become this woman requires practice, breath work, reflection, learning the signals of your own body, knowing when your heart is speaking and when your wounds are. It requires the courage to delay gratification, the wisdom to know that not every emotional storm deserves a response. That some things resolve not through action, but through stillness. When a woman embodies emotional discipline, she stops trying to earn love. She starts to become love. She stops negotiating for attention. She begins to live in devotion to herself. And in that state, her silence becomes a mirror. It reflects to the man his own disconnection. It reveals to him what he could not see in the noise, that the woman who once responded with chaos now moves with grace. And that grace breaks him, not because it hurts, but because it heals. He may weep, not for what she said, but for what she didn't say. For the moment she paused, walked away, and allowed him to sit in the silence she once tried to fill. It is in these spaces that transformation begins, not just for the man, but for the woman, because she too realizes that her strength was never in how loud she could be, but in how still she could remain. And that stillness, that breath, that pause, that is what changes everything. There is a quiet power in the woman who does not explain herself, not because she is hiding and not because she is pretending to be mysterious, but because she has reached a place in herself where her truth no longer requires translation. She does not shrink to fit into someone's understanding. She does not water down her essence for clarity. She simply as she is, and her being is enough. This kind of woman unsettles the mind of a man in the most unexpected way, because while others try so hard to be understood, she no longer feels the need to explain her soul. And so her mystery doesn't feel like a performance. It feels like presence. There's a moment, often subtle and almost imperceptible, when a man finds himself drawn into the gravity of a woman who is not trying to be known. He cannot quite put his finger on it. He doesn't understand why she lingers in his thoughts after she has left. But it's there, her quiet confidence, her stillness in the face of misunderstanding, her peace in the presence of assumptions. These things disturb something in him, not in a violent way, but in a way that whispers, here is someone who does not belong to your definitions. In relationships, we are often conditioned to over-explain, to ensure that we are not misread, to justify our silence, to over-articulate our feelings. But there is a difference between communication and self-erasure. Many women, especially those who love deeply, confuse vulnerability with overexposure. They believe that if they can just explain enough, they will finally be understood, accepted, held. But often, the opposite happens. The more you explain yourself, the more you dilute your depth, the more you overexpress, the more you push the other away. Because what the mind understands too easily, it does not crave. A man's curiosity is awakened not by what is given immediately, but by what is felt and not fully grasped. Not because you are playing games, but because you are rooted in your authenticity. The woman who can sit in her silence, who can hold space for her emotions without trying to narrate them into palatable language, becomes unforgettable. She becomes the echo that remains long after the conversation ends. There is a story of a woman who once loved a man whose words were few. She used to fill their conversations with endless emotion, trying to make him feel what she felt, see what she saw. One day, after an argument, she simply stopped explaining. She didn't withdraw in anger. She just became quiet. When he asked her what she was thinking, she looked at him and said, "Even if I told you, you wouldn't hear it from where you are standing." And then she turned and walked away. Not as a punishment, but as a release. That moment broke something open in him. For the first time, he realized he had not been listening. He had been filtering her words through the narrow lens of his own expectations. In her silence, he met her for the first time. We are so often told that being seen is the goal in relationships, but few are told that it is not your job to make someone see you. Your only task is to be visible to yourself, to live in alignment with your own values, to express with integrity when it is right, and to remain silent when it is not your responsibility to correct someone's misperception. This level of self-awareness requires discipline, not detachment. It requires inner stability, and it communicates something far deeper than words ever could. I am not here to be consumed. I am here to be respected. When a woman no longer explains herself unnecessarily, a man begins to meet her in a different dimension. He is no longer relating to her through roles or labels. He is sensing her essence. He feels her boundaries, not because she lists them out with rigid speech, but because her energy does not bend to please. He feels her truth, not because she insists upon it, but because it's woven into her stillness. This experience challenges him. It compels him to rise or retreat. And either way, it teaches him something essential, that true connection cannot be coerced. It must be earned. Mystery is not the absence of truth. It is the presence of depth. When a woman is not afraid of being partially misunderstood, she allows others to meet her beyond the surface. This doesn't mean she is aloof or manipulative. On the contrary, she is deeply sincere, but her sincerity does not beg for approval. It simply expresses itself and then it lets go. She trusts that those who are aligned with her will feel her, even in silence, and those who are not will fall away. Not because she failed, but because her energy refuses to chase. We live in an age where everything is explained. Every opinion must be justified. Every emotion must be labeled. But this constant translation robs us of the beauty of feeling. When a man sits with a woman and feels something he cannot name, that moment plants a seed. He may not understand it at first. He may even resist it, but it will return to him. In dreams, in solitude, in moments of stillness. Because that feeling, unprocessed by logic, begins to take root in a deeper place. It begins to grow in his subconscious. And one day, perhaps when he least expects it, he will find himself missing a woman he never fully understood, but always felt. There was once a woman who sat across from a man during a quiet dinner. The conversation was light. He asked questions. She responded when it felt right, but she didn't explain why she laughed softly at certain moments or why her eyes drifted away as she listened. She didn't fill the space with stories from her past. She didn't try to make the evening meaningful. She simply was, and her presence did something he wasn't prepared for. Later that night, he couldn't sleep. He kept replaying her expressions, wondering about the thoughts behind her silences. The evening hadn't been dramatic or intense, but it stayed with him. Not because of what she said, but because of what she left unsaid. This is not about withholding to gain power. It is about remembering that some things are not meant to be explained. Your soul, your journey, your inner world, they are sacred. When you offer them, let it be from wholeness, not from the need to be validated. When you share your truth, let it be because it flows naturally, not because you're trying to manage someone's perception of you. There is immense dignity in not always being understood, in allowing your partner the space to feel you instead of dissect you. This requires a shift in mindset. You are not here to be a product to be sold through emotional storytelling. You are not here to perform vulnerability for intimacy. You are here to be, deeply, quietly, honestly. And in that being, you offer a kind of connection that cannot be replicated. When you stop over-explaining, something beautiful happens. You begin to listen to yourself more. You notice when your words are coming from truth and when they're coming from fear. You start choosing presence over performance. You realize that silence is not empty. It is full of everything you no longer need to force. Men are not always emotionally articulate. Many struggle to express what they feel, but they feel. And what they feel most deeply are the moments that words do not touch. A woman who can sit in her mystery, who can hold the complexity of her emotions without packaging them into explanations, becomes a mirror. She reflects to the man his own emotional limits. She invites him to grow, not with commands, but with her embodiment. Not every man will rise to meet this invitation. Some will try to decode you, label you, reduce you to something familiar. And when they fail to do so, they may walk away, blaming you for being too complex, too quiet, too much. Let them. Their departure is not a loss. It is a clearing. It makes space for the one who feels you, not because you explained yourself into his understanding, but because he has the capacity to sense you as you are. You are not required to make your truth palatable. You are not obligated to make others comfortable with your depth. The right man will be intrigued, not intimidated by your mystery. He will lean in, not pull away when you say, "I'd rather not explain that right now." He will respect your silences as much as your words. And in doing so, he will meet you, not just with his mind, but with his spirit. There was a woman in her 60s who had lived through deep grief, love, and transformation. She once said, "I no longer explain why I cry at sunsets or why I leave rooms when the energy is wrong. I no longer explain why I don't call back immediately or why I speak slowly. If you need to understand me to love me, you won't. If you can feel me even when I'm silent, you already do." This is the kind of wisdom that cannot be learned from books. It is earned through experience, through heartbreak, through the long process of returning home to yourself. And once you arrive at that place, where your being speaks louder than your explanations, something shifts in your relationships. The people who stay are those who resonate with your essence, not your presentation. And the man who cries for you in silence will not be crying because you argued or performed emotion. He will be crying because in your quiet presence, he saw something he had never seen before: a woman who did not need to be understood in order to be worthy of love. A woman who let him feel, not just hear. A woman who reminded him, without words, of something he had forgotten in himself. This kind of presence becomes a spiritual experience for those who are ready. It heals, it confronts, it awakens, and most of all, it remains. Not in the form of memory, but in the form of transformation. Because a man may forget the details of your stories, but he will never forget the moment you sat beside him, fully yourself, without asking to be explained. When a woman learns to release her emotional charge while maintaining her emotional presence, she becomes the quiet storm that no man forgets. This might sound paradoxical at first. How can you feel deeply and yet not drown in your own emotions? How can you remain connected to someone and yet stand firmly in your own center? The answer is a delicate mastery, an internal discipline that transforms not only how others experience you, but how you experience yourself. Let's begin by understanding something very fundamental. Every emotional reaction creates an energetic imprint. Your tears, your silence, your anger, your longing, all carry a frequency. And men, whether they understand it or not, are constantly tuned into your frequency. But what many women don't realize is that when you feel something intensely and immediately act on that emotion, by explaining, fixing, blaming, or even pleading, you disperse that energetic charge outward. It's like releasing a powerful current without a conduit to hold it. But when you learn to feel fully without releasing that energy into reaction, when you simply hold it, breathe through it, and allow it to be transmuted within you, you create a presence that is unforgettable. This presence is not loud, not dramatic, not even verbal. It is the silent echo of power. It is the moment he feels you, but doesn't know why he misses you at 3 a.m. There's a difference between emotional expression and emotional transmission. Expression is often noisy. It seeks to be seen and heard. Transmission is still. It seeks only to be felt. When a woman transmits without explaining, without proving, without performing, her essence lingers in the room long after she's gone. To cultivate this, you need to create space between your emotion and your reaction. This space is where your strength is born. It is in this space that self-mastery lives. When you feel hurt, disappointed, unseen, pause. Don't rush to correct him. Don't rush to clarify your worth. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let it hang in the air like incense. Let your energy speak for you. There was once a woman named Mariam who, after months of feeling emotionally neglected by her partner, realized she had a pattern. Each time she felt dismissed, she would explain. She would beg for understanding. She would fight, cry, or threaten to leave. Anything to get a reaction. But all it did was drain her. It scattered her energy and gave away her power. Then one evening, she tried something different. She felt the ache rise in her chest, the tightening in her throat, the familiar urge to say, "Why don't you ever make me feel chosen?" But instead, she placed her hand over her heart, closed her eyes, and just breathed. She allowed the ache to expand within her, without judgment, without rush. She didn't say a word. That night, she simply sat beside him in stillness, embodying her emotion rather than projecting it. He couldn't sleep. He kept glancing over at her, uneasy but magnetized.